afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the midday news for this Friday, October 25. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Academic staff at the University of Technology UTech will have to wait longer to receive retroactive payments for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. They have been off the job since yesterday to protest non-payment. The union says the payments were agreed to in a heads of agreement meeting for 2015-2017. UTech President Professor Stephen Bassiani says the academic staff union acted prematurely by instructing its members to strike. He says the university is awaiting funds from the government.
The management of the university has informed the union that the union will receive that payment within 1 month of receipt by us of the money. So we are awaiting the money, and the union is, in my view, acting prematurely in taking industrial action.
President Liebert Langley took issue with the time frame in which the university chose to highlight problems in paying retroactive monies.
If it is that there was a difficulty, one would have expected that this would have been communicated. The communication was sent yesterday, October 24th, and I received it at 2:30. That is a clear 24 days after we wrote to the management. And so it is unacceptable that we have an agreement and it took so long for the management to respond.
In response to Professor Vassiani's statement that they are awaiting funds, Mr. Langley says the agreement had nothing to do with an external entity.
There is an expectation with a contract by an employee that their employer will pay them. That is the expectation that we have as an academic staff union.
A renewed commitment from Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson for improvements throughout the police force. The Commissioner has announced new facilities, structural renovations, and new training methods. TVJ's Prince Moore reports.
Short staff and a lack of vehicles. Those are some of the issues members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force have been grappling with for years. But Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson listed several plans to fix the problems over the next few months. Firstly, several dilapidated buildings used as police stations will be refurbished.
And those are Ulster Spring, Wassop, Clarkstown, and some work at Falmouth. And then coming the next financial year, we're looking at Duncan's.
He says 2 new training facilities are to be opened soon, one in T-Merks, St. James, and the other in Tranquility Bay, St. Elizabeth. That is expected to almost triple the number of recruits trained yearly.
So very soon, by next year, we'll have the material that our officers need to know online, so they can access it where they are, rather than us having to pull them in. With their knowledge increasing, you're going to get increased confidence. Confident officers police a particular way. They police with confidence. They understand. They police with understanding. And they police with solutions.
Changes are also expected in the police's interactions with the public.
And we're also working very diligently to make sure that the force is the type of force with the members in it that are worthy of your respect. And there's one way, a good way of getting some respect is to give respect. So we require that. That is a requirement. And if it's not happening, we're going to fix it.
The police commissioner was addressing residents at the Falmouth stop of his town hall series on Wednesday. Prince Moore, TVJ News.
The police are probing a shooting incident in Port Antonio, Portland Thursday night, which has left one man hospitalized. It's understood that minutes after 10 o'clock, several persons were in a bar on William Street when loud explosions were heard. An eyewitness recalls what he saw.
First, we was upstairs where the bar is, delivering. And then after delivering, about to come out, hear bam, 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 bam. A lot, probably about 8 to 9 or 10. Then, while looking over, we see people running all over the place. A Honda Stream was driving, waiting on somebody, and somebody like come around the neck, some shot, bam, bam, bam. I don't know who they shoot after, but the car turned back up the one way.
Shortly after, it was discovered that a man was injured. He had what appeared to be a gunshot wound to one of his shoulders. The injured man was rushed to the Port Antonio Hospital where he was treated and released. The Transport Authority has launched a probe into Wednesday's incident in which a taxi slammed into two pedestrians on Eastwood Park Road in St. Andrew. They say the investigation is to determine whether sanctions should be brought against the owner of the taxi. Communications Manager Petra Keane Williams says information is being gathered on the incident.
The Transport Authority is aware of the incident, and we are currently undertaking an investigation into the matter. We have been in dialogue with the police because there is some information that we need to get from them in order to further our investigation. So we are in that process, and where necessary, we will apply the appropriate penalties. Well, we need to ascertain all the details surrounding the accident and also details in terms of well, we would have the owner's information once we get like the registration plate, and just to look at what happened and what sanctions need to be applied to the owner of the vehicle or the driver.
The taxi driver, George Malcolm, was arrested about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and he fled after the vehicle hit a man and a woman near the Halfway Tree Transport Center. They have been hospitalized in serious condition. Preliminary investigations indicate that speeding led to the incident. Mr. Malcolm was reportedly driving a Toyota Probox when he swerved to avoid a parked vehicle and hit the two persons on the sidewalk. TVJ News was informed that earlier this year, Mr. Malcolm was charged with dangerous driving. He reportedly pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of careless driving. Meanwhile, the police are searching for another man believed to be the driver of the vehicle which slammed into the two pedestrians. He is Chad Ingram of a Central Village address in St. Catherine. Acting head of the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, Senior Superintendent Gary McKenzie, says Mr. Ingram also has 70 unpaid traffic tickets. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he's seeking to deepen the country's relationship with China in the area of trade.
Jamaica
at the groundbreaking ceremony, that's the Prime Minister, and he was at the new Children's Hospital in Western Jamaica, Mr. Holness pointed to opportunities for Jamaican exports to China. That and more will be explored when he visits the country early next month.
Jamaica must find things to sell to China. You know, we have such a robust and well-established Chinese community in Jamaica, right here in Montego Bay. We need to start to explore with them. What are the areas in which we have competitive advantage and comparative advantage that we can produce here and send to China?
Meanwhile, Mr. Holness commented on the temporary closure of Alpart, which is being run by Chinese company Jikon Iron and Steel, JISCO.
A symptom of not maintaining. Plant was there in mothball for how many years? Plant has reached its useful life. You can't keep operating that plant as it is. It is just unprofitable. So we understand. We understand. And we are really hoping that it can be reopened very quickly. But we need to find other things. to trade. I know we are doing fairly well with seafood, that we have reached a point with that, but there are other things as well.
And it's time for a break, but stay with us. More stories right after these messages. Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. Small farmers in northeast Manchester are raising concerns about several issues threatening their livelihood. Chief among them is finding markets for some crops. They raised the issue at a recent Farmers' Fun Day in Silent Hill, where Agriculture Minister Audley Shaw promised some assistance. TVJ's Krista Campbell reports.
It was fun and games for farmers in Silent Hill, Manchester, at a recent fair aimed at attracting more young people to the sector. But in reality, these farmers say it's a serious struggle to plant. Ginger, for instance, which was once a booming crop in Silent Hill, is now on the decline.
A lot of people go to Klein and they buy ginger plants for home money, $100 a pound to plant, and as you bring it back up here and plant it, it's boiled. So we don't know if it's the soil or it's the plant.
We have the Bodle Research Station as well as the Scientific Research Council that are working on it with us to see if we can sort out the issues.
Trying to find markets is another challenge. 85-year-old farmer Sylvia Powell Robinson says it's so bad she sometimes just gives away her produce.
You have the pear on the tree. Them not pay price. Only them $250 and then something there. And the banana now they want to have $150.
When you look at them, we are a farmer. Have to be paying like $3,000 a day to work. And you only getting $80 a pound for yam.
Yam tick is very expensive. To prepare the ground is expensive, and when it comes in, we don't get the right prices.
It's why Patrick Young wants the government to provide more loans at cheaper interest rates to help farmers. And while the farmers await the promised help from the government, they also raised concerns about job security.
Yeah, you have to cut staff. If you used to hire 5 man, you can hire 1, 2. You understand? 1, 2. And sometimes for 2 man, you have to hire 5 days in the week, which 3 man could do the job.
Councillor for the Craighead Division of Northeast Manchester, Omar Miller, who organised the Farmers' Fun Day, is optimistic.
I heard the Member of Parliament, who's the Minister of Agriculture, is on a trail right now to get the hotels to take more produce from farmers. And it is an opportunity for young people to get into something and to get self-sustainability by doing farming.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
The CEO of the Maypen Hospital in Clarendon is assuring Jamaica that he has put structures in place to eliminate bed space issues over the next few years. He was speaking following Wednesday's tour of the hospital with Central Clarendon MP Mike Henry.
We have retrofitted the area so that it can house outpatient department, so that we can remove the outpatient department from the inpatient of the hospital. On an average daily basis, we have about 35 to 40 patients without beds that is admitted to the hospital. That is behind us now. That is history. We have space because the annex that we have just created with the old outpatient department, that now can house up to about 45, 50 people.
Mr. Henry again appealed for relatives of persons living at hospitals to retrieve them to free up more bed spaces. Meanwhile, with a solar project and sewer system upgrade in the pipeline, Mr. Sinclair is appealing for further assistance.
Improvements. You have the peripheral wall that we need donors now to get involved and try to help. It's between $85 to $100 million just to put up that peripheral wall. We have the pavement for the hospital, the internal pavement for driving on. That has been eroded. We need help with that.
And in sports, the Reggae Boys have achieved their highest position in the FIFA World Rankings in 8 years after moving to 45th in the October edition. In June 2011, they were 38th in the rankings. Their jump comes after consecutive victories over Aruba in League B of the CONCACAF Nations League. The move sees Jamaica now third in CONCACAF after overtaking Costa Rica, who slipped to 47th after 2 straight draws against Haiti and Curacao in League A. It's the first time since 2011 that the nation is in the top 3 in the region. JFF President Michael Ricketts says more.
This goes to show that the football is in very competent and capable hands, and the sky is the limit. I want to congratulate Coach Whitmore and the technical staff. We are heading to our final 2 Nations League games. Those games will hopefully continue to propel us up the ladder. We want to win these and win them convincingly as we aim to stay in the top 6, leading to the hexagonal stage of the World Cup qualifiers.
Mexico leads the way in the region at 11th in the world, while the United States are second at 23rd. Jamaica will need to remain in the top 6 in CONCACAF by the June 2020 edition. And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.